Welcome to REDCap Tips and Tricks. Today we're looking at one of the many types of operational support projects that REDCap can be used to build. We're looking at how to move a process and the documentation of that process into REDCap. So many processes, as they exist right now, consist of a lot of email exchanges, many versions of the same document, not always being sure of what the most recent version of the document is. Things can be lost as teams change. And it's because the process isn't documented with any structured data, there's a lot of work when someone has a question about the process to go and answer the question, like how long does it take for this step to be completed? What factors make this process derail in this way? So by capturing processes in REDCap, we can alleviate some of those issues, right? We create a central repository, nothing gets lost in people's emails, there's no question of which information is the most current. The data is structured so then people are able to pull reports and get information. We can see how our processes are moving. It supports the ability of teams to remotely collaborate. And then it also allows us to do some automation. So email notifications are a very common repetitive process that people have to spend a lot of time sending the same email to the same group of people and just copying and pasting in the same pieces of information. If I capture a process in REDCap, I can build automated alerts to carry that information back and forth instead of having people need to spend all that time and labor on it. Every process that could possibly be supported in REDCap is going to look a little bit different. So there's not one true way to build an operational support project for process documentation. It depends a lot on what that process looks like and what the needs are. So I'll show you in a minute a workflow of a process that I converted to a project and how the project reflects the elements of this process. But here are some of the questions that I try to ask. So I try to ask about the information that people want, what's already being collected, what we would like to collect. Where do we make decisions? Where are the decision points? And when we make a decision, what is the outcome of that decision? Are there changes in information, notification that needs to go out? Are there multiple ways that this process can flow? So you'll see in a minute that protocols in the process that I put into REDCap can either be approved immediately or they can be tabled first and then approved. And that's still the same arm of the process, but I need to build the documentation for both versions of this process into REDCap. Data entry, data access, who does what, who needs to sign off, if anyone. And then where are communications happening in this process? And are they the sort of communications that I can automate, where we've got kind of consistent template, consistent items, and it's just repetitive, needs to go out to a certain group of people. So the flowchart on the screen right now is a depiction of the initial protocol intake process for our multidisciplinary disease groups for different cancer types. So let me pull this to the side, and then I'm going to pull up REDCap next to it, and let's go through and see how my REDCap project captures all the steps of this process. So I'm going to come in here. I've got a few different forms to work with. So let's start by adding a new record. So the process begins when a new protocol is offered to the MDG. So there's some basic information that we have at the very beginning about the study. There might be items that we do or don't have when we're first told about a study. But our first decision point right here is whether there's interest in even bringing this forward at an MDG meeting. Or is this one that we know from the beginning isn't really something that our site wants to do? So if I say no to this, I have to document when we made that decision. Then I can save this form as complete. And now we can see in our record, we've saved that documentation that we're not interested. No more forms open up. So we're done. If we have no interest, we go end. But let's say that we are interested in it. We do want to bring it forward at a meeting. So we might get a few more details about it. I'm going to move that because we haven't made a decision yet. So let's say we do decide to bring it forward at a meeting. So we document the date of the meeting, and then at a meeting, a protocol can be approved or not approved. It can also be tabled for later. If I decline a protocol, it has me document a reason. The protocol was not approved due to lack of funding. So we can see as we follow the flowchart, okay, we've been collecting some more detailed information. It was declined. And we should send a not approved email out to the person who wanted to be the investigator on this study. So that is done through the alerts and notifications section. I've got quite a few for this, this workflow. Right here is the committee disapproval. So in this case, if I immediately disapproved a protocol, so that's protocol approval equals 2, or we tabled and then disapproved, either of those options will lead to this email being sent and telling the investigator that this study wasn't approved. We can take that note box that listed the reasons it wasn't approved and we can actually pipe it in down here. So when this email goes out to the investigator, they can see why the protocol was declined. And again, if the protocol is declined, that email gets sent, that's the end of it. But when we have an approved protocol, so now I've changed this to a protocol that was approved, now there's more information I need to collect. So I'm just going to click through this. All right, so now I've finished filling out all of my detailed information about the study. And this is a study that we have in fact approved. So now the next step in my process is that I need to have the lead for this MDG sign off on the approval. And that is done through this MDG lead review form. So on the MDG lead review form, this is a survey that I've built. I've used the magic box trick to embed the different forms with the study information so that my MDG lead can review, but they don't have the submit or save button at the bottom, so they can't change anything. They can just look at it. And now I need them to sign this form. So with this process, because there are a lot of decision points, there is this current status form as well to help manage the workflow. So here we've got a field living here that acts as a manual trigger to send this to my MDG lead for signature. And I built this as a manual trigger because with processes like this, conversations can go back and forth, information can change, people can find out different things as they're getting the information together. So there's not a strict formula to know when the information is finalized, it's done, it's ready for signature. The person who knows that is the person who's been filling out the information. They know when it's time for it to go for signature. So that's why I have this manual alert trigger here. And that triggers my alert that goes out to the MDG lead. You can see here is the, it's triggered by selecting yes for that field. There's information that's piped into here using the square brackets. And I've got the survey link pasting in here as well. So they would click on the survey link in the email that they receive. So we can see here the alert that goes out to my MDG lead. They would click on this review form, and now it pulls up with the MDG lead review form for this specific study. You can see here embedded through the magic box. This is our intake form with that initial study information. Then we've got this form with the more detailed information. And this is where my MDG lead gets to sign off and officially document that approval. So sometimes with process documentation, we do need essentially a signed PDF form, a PDF form with a signature on it that can go to the next approval body or the next step in the process. So I need to generate that approval PDF after my MDG lead signs off. And the way I've done that is in the designer, I've used PDF snapshots. So I've used the PDF snapshot. It gets triggered when someone completes the MDG lead review. And it puts together a PDF of several different pages. So I've got it putting together the intake form, the discussion and approval form, and the review form that has the signature on it. I don't have it save the current status form because that is not part of the information that future committees are going to need. It's just workflow management. So I've separated that out so that people don't have a PDF full of information they don't understand. And then I've saved inside my record, I've built an upload field called MDG signed upload that's also on that current status form. And that's where I've told REDCap to save that PDF when it gets generated. So because I just signed off on this MDG lead review form, let's go back out to the record. So we see the green check mark with MDG lead review. Because I signed off on that and submitted it as complete, that PDF automatically generated. So now I have this PDF with the signatures and with all the information that can be submitted to the next committee in the flow. And that PDF also needs to be attached to some of these outgoing emails. So I generate my approval PDF, and then I have a couple different types of emails that go out. So you see with my approval emails, I've got them in pairs, right? These both go to the PI. This is for ones that are managed by that CTO reg group. These are managed by the other reg group, and they have slightly different email bodies. So because the regulatory group determines which email gets sent, that's part of my trigger logic. And then having that PDF save is the other part, because some of these approval emails, I need to attach that signed PDF form. And so that gets me from this very first step of the process all the way out to sending those final approval emails. And this REDCap project houses the information that we need to complete that process and that we need to send forward. So that is one example of a process documentation project. The sky's the limit. There are so many different ways to approach these. My main takeaway would be think about these questions when you're looking at putting a process into REDCap, because this will help shape what your project looks like.